Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with this truth. Sometimes the greatest transformation of your life begins when you decide to disappear. Not disappear from existence, not vanish into thin air, but to step back from the noise, the opinions, the distractions, and the constant pull of the world, so you can reemerge as the version of yourself you were always meant to be. Transformation requires isolation, because it is in the moments when you are alone that you truly begin to see yourself for who you are. When you step away from the noise, the distractions, and the constant chatter of other people's opinions, you start to hear the voice inside you that has been silenced for so long. This voice is not influenced by comparison or competition. It is raw, honest, and sometimes uncomfortable. Isolation strips away the false identities you have been wearing just to fit in, and it forces you to confront your authentic self without the filter of the crowd. In the midst of isolation, you begin to discover the areas of your life that have been neglected. You can no longer hide behind excuses or point fingers at others. In silence, there is no one else to blame, only you and your reflection. This confrontation can be painful because it exposes the truth about your habits, your fears, and your weaknesses. But it is in this exposure that growth begins. You cannot change what you refuse to face, and isolation gives you no choice but to face it. When you are isolated, discipline becomes your closest companion. You no longer have the luxury of leaning on others for motivation or accountability. It is up to you to build systems and habits that will carry you forward. Discipline born in isolation is stronger than discipline forced by external pressure because it comes from within. It is not about impressing anyone or proving anything. It is about becoming consistent when nobody is watching, and that consistency is what lays the foundation for lasting transformation. Isolation also gives you the time and space to heal. Too often, people rush into new chapters carrying the weight of old wounds. They surround themselves with activity, noise, and people so they don't have to deal with the pain that lingers beneath the surface. But when you withdraw, when you allow yourself to sit in stillness, you finally give yourself permission to address the brokenness. Healing requires quiet, and transformation requires healing. Another reason isolation is necessary is because it separates you from the influences that have kept you stagnant. If you remain in the same environments, around the same conversations, listening to the same doubts and fears of others, you will never rise above them. By stepping back, you cut off the energy that drains you and create space for new thoughts, new inspiration, and new revelations. Isolation is not about rejecting people permanently. It is about creating a sacred distance so that you can reframe your mindset without interference. In solitude, creativity flourishes. The best ideas, the most powerful visions, and the clearest plans are born when your mind is uncluttered. Distraction is the enemy of creativity, and silence is its fuel. When you are away from the pressure to perform, to explain, or to meet expectations, your imagination becomes free again. You begin to think bigger, dream wider, and believe in possibilities that once felt out of reach. Isolation also strengthens your relationship with yourself. Many people do not truly know who they are because they have never spent enough time alone to find out. They know themselves only through the lens of others, what others expect, what others want, and what others say. But when you step away, you begin to understand your true values, your genuine passions, and your unique calling. This self-awareness becomes the compass that guides your transformation. Spiritual growth thrives in isolation as well. When you are not constantly pulled in different directions, you can finally align your spirit with a higher purpose. Isolation allows you to pray, meditate, and seek clarity in ways that are not possible when surrounded by endless noise. This alignment gives you strength, wisdom, and direction that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Transformation is not only about becoming stronger in body or sharper in mind, it is about becoming deeper in spirit. Isolation is also a test of resilience. It is not easy to be alone, to feel unseen, and to walk a path that others may not understand. Many people quit in isolation because they mistake silence for abandonment. But in truth, isolation is a refining fire. It tests your endurance, your patience, and your ability to trust the process even when there is no applause. Those who endure isolation emerge unshakable because they have learned to stand without the need for external validation. Finally, transformation requires isolation because greatness is never built in public view. Every masterpiece is first sketched in private. Every champion trains in hidden hours. Every breakthrough begins in obscurity. The world only sees the finished product, but the real work is always done away from the spotlight. Isolation is the soil where your roots grow deep, unseen, but unshakable, preparing you to rise higher than you ever imagined when the time to emerge finally comes. Seeds grow in the dark because it is in that hidden place beneath the soil that life truly begins to take form. The seed is buried, unseen, covered by weight and pressed down by dirt. But inside that darkness, a process is taking place that no one else can see. It does not matter that the world above the surface has no idea what is happening below, because the seed is not dependent on recognition. It is dependent on the conditions of growth. In that unseen place, the seed begins to break open, and what once looked lifeless becomes the foundation of something new. The darkness of the soil is not a punishment, it is preparation. Many people resist their dark seasons because they feel hidden, forgotten, or overlooked. Yet just like the seed, being covered does not mean being destroyed. It means being positioned for transformation. The pressure of the dirt, the weight of the soil, and the absence of light all contribute to the development of roots strong enough to sustain future growth. Without the dark, the seed could never find the strength to grow upward. Seeds grow in the dark because they need time to develop privately before they can be revealed publicly. If a seed were exposed too early, it would wither, dry out, and never reach its potential. In the same way, people who rush to be seen, to be celebrated, or to showcase their progress before the right time end up sabotaging their own growth. The unseen season is not wasted. It is where the unseen strength is built. Just because no one claps for you in the dark does not mean you are not growing. The dark is also where roots are established. A seed does not first grow upward into the light. It grows downward into the unseen places where its foundation is secured. Without roots, there can be no stability. Without stability, there can be no sustainability. In the same way, when you are in a season of darkness, what you are truly building is your foundation. You are learning discipline, developing faith, strengthening patience, and deepening resilience. These roots will anchor you when the storms of life try to shake you. When a seed grows in the dark, it must trust the process even though it cannot see the light yet. This is a picture of faith in its purest form, to continue growing, to continue pushing even when there is no evidence of breakthrough. The seed cannot see the sun, but it continues to stretch. It cannot feel the wind above, but it continues to expand. Likewise, when you are in your hidden season, you may not yet see results, but you must continue to act, continue to prepare, and continue to believe. The dark also teaches patience. Growth is not instant, and seeds cannot be rushed. A farmer understands that no matter how much he waters or fertilizes, the seed will take its appointed time to break through the soil. If he digs it up too soon to check its progress, he destroys it. The same is true in life. Impatience with your process can ruin what is developing within you. The darkness is a reminder that transformation takes time, and those who wait are the ones who eventually reap the harvest. Seeds grow in the dark because it is the only environment that protects them from external harm until they are ready, above ground. They are vulnerable to storms, wind, and predators. But below, in the hidden place, they are shielded while they gain the strength to withstand what will come later. This protective darkness may feel like isolation, but it is actually grace. It is giving you time to become prepared so that when you finally emerge, nothing will easily uproot you. The dark season also allows you to shed what is no longer necessary. A seed does not remain intact forever. It must break open and let go of its shell in order for new life to come forth. In the same way, your hidden seasons require you to break away from old identities, old habits, and old limitations. The breaking may hurt, but it is the only way to release the potential that has been locked inside you all along. Without the breaking, there can be no becoming. In the darkness, transformation is not visible, but it is undeniable. Others may look at the soil and assume nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, everything is changing. The seed is expanding, strengthening, and preparing to push through. Likewise, when people cannot see your progress, they may underestimate you or even doubt you. But the absence of evidence is not the absence of growth. What is hidden now will one day be revealed in undeniable form. And when the seed finally breaks through the soil, it does not come out the same way it went in. It emerges stronger, bigger, and with proof that the dark season was never wasted. What once looked buried was actually planted. What once looked like an ending was actually a beginning. The darkness did not destroy the seed. It prepared it for visibility, fruitfulness, and life. Stop seeking approval, because the need for constant validation keeps you chained to the opinions of others. As long as you measure your worth by the reactions you receive, you will never truly own your identity. Approval is a fragile foundation. It shifts with moods, it crumbles with criticism, and it disappears the moment people turn their attention elsewhere. When you live for approval, you hand over control of your destiny to people who may not even know their own. The danger of seeking approval is that it dilutes authenticity. Every time you adjust who you are just to be accepted, you step further away from your true self. Instead of expressing your unique voice, you echo what others want to hear. Instead of walking your own path, you follow trails that were never meant for you. The tragedy is not that people reject you. The tragedy is that you reject yourself just to win their acceptance. Approval seeking is a trap that drains energy and kills momentum. You waste precious time wondering if people like you agree with you or think highly of you, when that same time could be used building, creating, and growing. Approval will not pay your bills, it will not sharpen your skills, and it will not advance your purpose. What actually moves you forward is commitment, discipline, and courage. Approval is a distraction dressed as affirmation. When you stop seeking approval, you gain freedom. Freedom to try, freedom to fail, freedom to rise again without shame. Approval makes you timid because you are afraid of how others will perceive your mistakes. But growth demands risk, and risk demands the courage to look foolish. If you cannot bear to be misunderstood or criticized, you will never break past the boundaries of average. Those who accomplish greatness do so by ignoring the comfort of approval and embracing the discomfort of authenticity. Many people do not realize that approval often comes at the cost of compromise. To gain the acceptance of one group, you may have to suppress your truth, mute your convictions, or betray your own vision. Slowly, you lose your individuality in exchange for temporary applause. But applause fades quickly, and then you are left with the emptiness of having abandoned yourself. True fulfillment only comes when you honor your purpose, even if it means standing alone. Seeking approval also places you in endless competition. You are always measuring yourself against others, always trying to outperform, outshine, or outdo them just to be noticed. This race never ends, and it keeps you exhausted. But when you stop running for approval, you realize that the only competition is with who you were yesterday. The goal is not to win people's attention, but to win your own growth. Progress replaces applause as the metric of success. Approval keeps you fragile, but independence makes you unshakable. When your confidence comes from within, no rejection can dismantle you. Criticism may sting, but it will not stop you. Dismissal may hurt, but it will not derail you. The opinions of others lose their power because they no longer define your value. When you stop seeking approval, you begin to build a resilience that cannot be taken away, no matter what people say or do. One of the most destructive effects of approval seeking is that it ties your happiness to circumstances you cannot control. People's moods, preferences, and perspectives change constantly, which means your sense of worth will rise and fall with their inconsistency. Living this way leaves you unstable. Real stability comes when your joy, your peace, and your identity are rooted in who you are and what you stand for, not in how others respond to you. To stop seeking approval, you must embrace solitude. It is in solitude that you learn to affirm yourself, to validate your own worth, and to trust your own instincts. Solitude silences the external voices long enough for you to hear the truth within you. When you become comfortable in your own company, you are no longer desperate for anyone else's validation. You shift from needing to be chosen to choosing yourself. The moment you release the need for approval, you step into real power. Power to act boldly, power to create without hesitation, power to live with clarity and conviction. Approval may feel like fuel, but it is temporary and shallow. Purpose is the true fuel, and purpose does not require permission. When you align with your calling, you no longer wait for people to say yes to your life. You give yourself permission, and that is the only approval you will ever need. Letting go of old attachments is one of the hardest but most necessary steps in transformation. We cling to people, places, habits, and mindsets because they are familiar and familiarity feels safe. But just because something is familiar does not mean it is good for you. Old attachments can become chains disguised as comfort. They can keep you bound to cycles that no longer serve your growth, and the longer you hold on, the harder it becomes to move forward into the future that is waiting for you. Old attachments often carry the weight of identity. You convince yourself that you cannot let go because without them you won't know who you are. That relationship, that environment, that routine has been a part of your story for so long that the thought of releasing it feels like losing yourself. But the truth is that these attachments often reflect a version of you that no longer exists. You have outgrown what once defined you, and holding on to it only delays the emergence of who you are becoming. Some attachments are tied to people who cannot accompany you into your next season. It doesn't mean they are bad people, but it does mean their role in your story is complete. Growth requires discernment, and discernment teaches you to recognize when certain connections no longer align with your vision. If you insist on dragging everyone with you, you will exhaust yourself and sabotage your own progress. Some chapters can only begin after you close the old ones, and some journeys can only continue after you release the hands that were never meant to go the full distance. Habits are another form of attachment that can hinder your transformation. You may be addicted to procrastination, laziness, or even the comfort of routine. These patterns feel normal because you've lived with them for so long, but they quietly sabotage your potential. To let go of old attachments means breaking free from behaviors that no longer align with who you want to become. Change will always feel uncomfortable because your body and mind are wired to resist it. But discomfort is the price of transformation. Sometimes the hardest attachments to let go of are the invisible ones, memories, regrets, and past experiences that replay in your mind. You keep reliving old failures, old wounds, old betrayals, and those mental attachments become prisons. They convince you that you are defined by what happened instead of what can happen. Releasing those attachments requires forgiveness, not just of others, but of yourself. You cannot move forward while rehearsing the same pain over and over again. Old attachments also keep you tied to environments that no longer inspire growth. You may feel loyal to a place, a circle, or a lifestyle, but if those surroundings limit your vision, you are shrinking to fit instead of expanding to grow. Environments carry energy, and staying too long in the wrong one can suffocate your potential. Letting go does not mean dishonor. It means acknowledging that your future requires a different atmosphere than your past could provide. Another layer of attachment comes from the fear of starting over. You hold on to what you have, even if it's toxic, because the thought of facing the unknown feels scarier than staying stuck. But the unknown is where growth happens. Every great breakthrough requires walking into unfamiliar territory. When you finally release the grip of what you think you cannot live without, you discover that you were never as weak as you thought. You were just afraid to find out how strong you really are. Letting go of old attachments also protects your future from contamination. If you insist on dragging broken pieces into new seasons, you will damage the opportunities waiting for you. New relationships cannot thrive if you are still tied to the pain of old ones. New visions cannot succeed if you are still attached to outdated mindsets. Transformation requires making room, and you cannot make room if your hands are already full of what you should have released. Releasing attachments is not just about loss, it is about alignment. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you create space for what was meant for you. Life cannot pour new blessings into a vessel that is already filled with the remnants of the past. It is only when you empty yourself of unnecessary attachments that you can receive opportunities, relationships, and growth that truly match your destiny. Every act of letting go is an act of trust. It is trusting that the future has more to offer than the past, trusting that what you release will be replaced with something greater, trusting that the pain of separation will be worth the reward of transformation. It may feel like death to let go, but it is actually rebirth. You are not losing what you need. You are shedding what has been holding you back so you can step fully into the life you were created to live. Disappearance is strategic, not defeat, because stepping back does not always mean you are losing. It can mean you are preparing. Too many people misunderstand silence and withdrawal as weakness, when in reality, it is often the most powerful move a person can make. When you choose to disappear, you are not giving up. You are conserving energy, rebuilding focus, and aligning yourself with a greater plan. Strategic disappearance is about pulling back from the noise of the world so you can sharpen yourself in private. When a warrior retreats, it is not always because the battle is lost. Sometimes retreat is a tactic to regroup, to rethink, and to strike back with greater precision. In life, the same is true. Disappearance allows you to examine your strategy without the distraction of constant conflict. It gives you space to identify weaknesses, to strengthen your foundation, and to plan your next move. What looks like defeat to outsiders is actually preparation for a greater victory. Disappearance is also a way of protecting your progress. Not everyone deserves access to your process, and not everyone should be allowed to witness your growth. When you are too visible too soon, you expose yourself to criticism, jealousy, and unnecessary resistance. By disappearing, you guard your development from premature exposure. Like a seed in the soil, you grow in hiddenness until you are strong enough to withstand the pressure that comes with being seen. There is wisdom in disappearing because it separates you from distractions. The world is filled with constant noise. Social media, opinions, conversations, and expectations that can cloud your judgment. By withdrawing from this chaos, you create an environment where clarity can return. You can hear your own thoughts, reconnect with your purpose, and rediscover your vision without interference. Disappearance is not escape. It is elevation through focus. Disappearing also teaches discipline. When you are not performing for others, when you are not seeking validation, you are forced to work for reasons deeper than applause. It is in these moments that you discover whether your drive comes from external recognition or internal conviction. The discipline built in silence is stronger than the discipline built under constant watch, because it is forged in authenticity. You are no longer motivated by how it looks. You are motivated by who you are becoming. Strategic disappearance is not about cutting yourself off from the world forever. It is about timing. There are seasons to be visible and seasons to be hidden. The mistake many people make is wanting to be seen before they are ready. They rush into the spotlight without the preparation needed to sustain it. And as quickly as they rise, they fall. Those who understand the power of disappearing wait until they are equipped, so that when they reemerge, they are undeniable. When you disappear, you also free yourself from the pressure of constant comparison. Being visible often traps you in the cycle of measuring your progress against others. But in isolation, you stop competing and start cultivating. You no longer care about who is ahead or who is behind. You only focus on becoming better than you were yesterday. That shift in perspective transforms your energy and restores your confidence. Disappearance also exposes who truly values you. When you are no longer easily accessible, you see who genuinely supports you versus who only wanted to use you. Silence reveals truth in a way words cannot. It separates genuine connections from superficial ones, and it teaches you to invest your energy wisely. Strategic disappearance is not just about personal growth. It is also about relational clarity. Another reason disappearance is powerful is because it allows you to conserve strength for when it truly matters. If you spend all your time explaining yourself, proving yourself, and defending yourself, you waste the very energy you need for execution. By stepping back, you stop leaking power. You store it, build it, and channel it into actions that actually move you forward. Disappearance is not running away, it is recharging so that your next move is explosive. Every great comeback requires a season of disappearance. History shows us that those who make the greatest impact often vanish from the spotlight before they rise again with more power and influence than ever before. They do not waste time trying to look strong in every moment. They understand that real strength is built in the unseen seasons. Disappearance is not the end of your story. It is the part of the story where the foundation of greatness is laid in silence, away from the crowd. Reemerge with results, not excuses, because the world does not reward explanations. It rewards evidence. Excuses may sound convincing to the person who makes them, but they do not build credibility. They do not change circumstances, and they do not create transformation. When you step back into the spotlight after a season of silence, the only thing that speaks louder than words is proof. People cannot argue with results, but they can easily dismiss excuses. Excuses are easy to make because they allow you to avoid responsibility. They shift the blame to circumstances, to other people, or to timing. But every excuse you make is a declaration that something outside of you controls your destiny. Results, on the other hand, declare that you took ownership, that you refused to surrender, and that you did the work regardless of obstacles. Excuses defend weakness, but results reveal strength. When you reemerge with results, you silence doubt without ever raising your voice. Those who once questioned you, underestimated you, or ridiculed you are forced to confront the evidence of your progress. Results do not require you to argue or persuade. They demand respect on their own. Excuses beg for sympathy, but results command recognition. If you want your presence to matter, you must reappear carrying proof, not explanations. Results also build momentum. Once you have tangible evidence of growth, even in small areas, it fuels confidence to pursue even greater goals. Excuses, however, drain energy because they keep you rehearsing the same reasons for failure over and over again. They trap you in the past, while results propel you toward the future. Every step forward, no matter how small, has more power than the most eloquent excuse. Reemerging with results requires sacrifice during the hidden season. It means choosing discipline over distraction, focus over comfort, and persistence over quitting. It means doing the work in silence so that your success speaks in public. Many people want the appearance of progress without paying the price of preparation, and so they return with nothing to show but excuses. Those who embrace sacrifice in the dark are the ones who shine brightest when it's time to be seen. Excuses are temporary comfort, but they create permanent regret. They soothe your pride in the moment, but they rob you of the satisfaction of achievement later. Results may cost you more up front, but they pay dividends for a lifetime. When you reemerge with results, you carry the fulfillment of knowing you endured the process, honored your commitment, and overcame what tried to stop you. Excuses cannot give you that fulfillment. They can only give you delay and disappointment. When you show up with results, you inspire others without even trying. People do not draw strength from hearing excuses. They draw strength from seeing proof that transformation is possible. Your results become a testimony that discipline works, that sacrifice pays off, and that perseverance produces fruit. Excuses may gain you pity, but results make you a model of possibility for others who are searching for hope. Reemerging with results also changes how you see yourself. Excuses weaken your identity because they convince you that you are powerless. Results strengthen your identity because they prove to you that you are capable. Every victory, no matter how small, rewires your mind to believe that more is possible. Excuses lock you in a cycle of failure, while results unlock the courage to aim higher than before. The discipline of reemerging with results teaches you patience. It reminds you that real success is not instant and that growth is a process. Excuses are shortcuts that lead nowhere, but results are the fruit of consistency. When you reappear carrying results, you demonstrate that you were willing to stay the course long enough to produce something tangible. That patience becomes part of your character, and character outlasts circumstances. Reemerging with results, not excuses, establishes your credibility for the future. Once people see you produce, they believe in your ability to produce again. They trust your words because they are backed by evidence. Excuses destroy credibility because they reveal inconsistency. Results establish legacy because they show that you were faithful to your process. When you step back into the light, let your life be the evidence, let your progress be the proof, and let your results speak on your behalf.